Greetings, hungry gamers, and welcome to another episode of Gastromancer's D20 Kitchen, the show that gives a new definition to slicing and dicing. So without further ado, let's let the adventure begin. Okay, let's go over the list for this week. We've got pasta, onion, squash, mango, chicken, coconut milk, potato, cheese, bacon, steak, turkey, eggs, bell pepper, scallops, flour, salmon, garlic, tomato, celery, and of course number 20 is the wild card. And that list this week is brown sugar, chili peppers, port, capers, brown rice, and once again whiskey. Now let's see what we get. So for the last few shows I've been having some issues with my showing the dice rolls. You noticed on episode 2 I had some technical issues with my digital camera exporting files. I don't want that to happen again. I want everyone to see that my rolls are legitimate. So I'm going to try something different this time. I'm going to be using just my laptop camera, and I'm going to be rolling 5 d20 at once, and I will show each of them to the camera one at a time. So let's try this out. And my 5 d20, and I will roll. So we've got a 2, we've got an 8, you can see I'm not moving them. We've got a 7, 17, and a 16. Well, let's see what that gives us. So, the ingredients that I've been given for my 5 rolls are potato. I'll be using sweet potato because they're my favorite. Cheese. I have all kinds of cheese sitting around. Onion. I'm going to go with green onion, I think. Maybe both. Garlic. I always got lots of garlic. And salmon. Now, that's not a very difficult list. Those are ingredients that go together in a bazillion different ways. So I'm going to try to make it a little more challenging for myself. Let's see what I come up with. Okay, an idea has been formed. So, the first thing I'm going to be doing is cubing up my sweet potatoes. I've got my plate of cut up sweet potatoes, not too small, just cubed just right. And what I'm going to do with those is I'm going to put them in the microwave for 4 minutes. Now, I think the microwave gets a bad rap. It's not some culinarily blasphemous radioactive devil box. No, it's just a useful cooking utility. It's made to excite the water molecules inside of things to soften them up in the case of potatoes. And sweet potatoes are rock hard, so before I cook them in the pan, I always microwave them. Next step, I am going to de-skin my salmon. And this is an easy way to do it. If you're like me, you buy very small pieces of salmon, so I just feed one at a time unless I have guests over. Just press it down against the cutting board and slide your knife between the meat and the skin. Now it's going to be pretty tricky to cut through that skin, so it's going to be a good guide to just keep your blade at the right position. And just nice and slow, and as you can see, the skin's going to come right off. So we've got a lovely piece of skinless salmon. A little simple prep to it, of course, olive oil. I'm going to put on a little bit of rice vinegar and some garlic that I'm going to crush here in the mortar and pestle. And then set that aside. We're cutting up some green onion here. Which is going to be immediately followed by some sweet onion. Not too much, just a little bit. That should be plenty. And by now, of course, sweet potatoes are out of the microwave, nice and steamy and soft. I'm going to put the sweet onions with those, and then get those ready for a pan. Now here I have 2 fully heated pans ready to go. Both of them have butter melted inside of them. Now into one, I'm going to be adding my large sweet onions and my sweet potatoes. And into the other, I'm going to be adding my piece of salmon. So, salmon and potatoes and onions are all cooking in individual pans. I've got the salmon right in the very center where the heat's going to be the highest. Now onto the potatoes, I'm going to be putting some sea salt, some fry seasoning, and now the thing with these kind of potatoes, I'm basically making sweet potato home fries here. And you can't really use too much seasoning. You can just throw in all kinds of stuff and they're pretty good. And so I'm going to add a little bit of rosemary. Now at this point, that side of the salmon is going to be done. So I'm going to flip it over And now that it's flipped over, I'm going to add into the pan some more water and rice vinegar. I'm going to pop the lid on it so that steams in there and gets the inside of the salmon cooked up. Add some more seasoning to the potatoes, a little bit of curry powder, and then into the pan with the salmon, I'm going to be throwing our diced up green onions. Alright, and here we have the salmon out of the pan. It's cooked all the way through, and what I'm going to do is just line it up, cut it into nice small pieces, and you can tell it's fully cooked because it just flakes right apart. And we'll be back for that in a little bit. Now you might be thinking at this point that this doesn't seem that weird or unusual so far. I mean, yeah, I cut up the salmon into little pieces, but why? So, to let you in on a little secret, we're going to be making salmon omelets. And the way I make omelets might be a little different than the way you make omelets, so I'm going to show you how. Now, for the amount of food we're going to be using inside of it, I'm going to be using 3 eggs. Those cracked in there. And into that, I'm going to be adding some flour. Now you might be thinking, oh God, why are you putting flour in an omelet? Well, that's just how I do it. It makes it really fluffy, it makes it really dense, it almost makes it like a giant crepe. I'm also going to be adding a glob of sour cream, adding some black pepper, sea salt, olive oil, and some Greek seasoning. You might be looking at this and saying it seems really, really weird, but I'm telling you, some of the best omelet I've ever had. Alright, now that it is fully blended up, I'm going to take it over and put it into a heated pan. We're going to slap a little bit of cooking spray in the pan. And it should be almost like a really thin pancake batter. Like I said, it's pretty much like a crepe. I like to put the lid back on there to kind of cook the inside of the egg there. It makes it able to flip a little bit sooner without burning the bottom. And we're looking for bubbles to form in the top here. That's how you're going to tell that it's getting heated all the way through. Nice one big flip. And as you can see, it's cooking pretty much like a pancake. So, into the omelet, I'm going to be adding our cooked salmon with green onion. Some nice fresh pieces of red tomato. And for the cheese that we got on our list, I'm going to be using Asiago. It's probably my favorite cheese ever. And that's all kind of loaded up on half of it. You just kind of fold the whole guy right down the middle. Cook the inside. We've got it at kind of a medium-low heat now. Add some water. Plop the lid back on, and once again that steam's going to cook all the interior for us. And here we have our salmon with green onion, fresh tomato, and Asiago omelet. Curried sweet potato home fries with onion. I've added a little bit more Asiago and some paprika and parsley to the top for color. And I know it was an unusual omelet recipe, but it's so juicy and full of fluffiness that it'll blow your mind. So, thank you for joining me, Kitchen Adventurers, and I'll see you next week for another random recipe.